Email a copy. Okay.
Good evening, folks. I'm Providence Councilwoman Joanne Ryan. I'm calling the Committee on Finance regular meeting to order Tuesday, September 21 at 5 p.m. Actually, it's 5:11 p.m. I ask the clerk to read the roll.
Chairwoman Ryan,
Present.
Vice Chairwoman Castillo,
Present.
Councilman Narducci,
Yeah.
Councilman Anthony,
Present.
Councilman Taylor.
Here.
You have 5 present, you have a quorum.
Okay. Let's distribute, has everybody received, we got that out there? Perfect. Mr. Clerk, would you kindly, pass out the compensation plan 2 and 3, classes, assessors, I mean, please. Please. I'd like the record to reflect that we have Councilman Sherman and Leosi with us. We have Councilman Cardio with us. We have Vargas with us. That's it. Councilman Polly.
So noted.
Thank you.
All right, so we all know why we're here this evening. Essentially, the mayor unilaterally decided to fill a major position on the Providence Police Department with civilians. Bottom line, the city council is not going to allow a civilian to fill the position of a major on the Providence Police Department. As our council president aptly stated, it's just not going to happen. So tonight, this committee is charged with creating a civilian position. And Colonel Clements has joined us this evening, and he is going to basically describe the position that is being proposed this evening. Obviously, we've got some mechanical actions that we have to take to make this happen. So before I ask the chief to speak, I'm going to ask for a series of motions. So first and foremost, Mr. Clerk, Madam Clerk, could you kindly, I'd like to take a motion, ask for a motion, indicate a motion to waive the readings of items 1, 2, and 3 and take the matters together. Can I have that motion? Second? Second by, motion made by Vice Chair Stewart, second by Councilman Narducci. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. Okay. So first order of business is the appropriations piece is item 1. I'd like to entertain a motion. We are not making any monetary change in the bottom line of the budget, so I'm going to ask for motion to continue item 1. Motion made by Councilman Castillo. May I have a second? Second by Councilman Narducci. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. Okay. Item 2, the compensation plan. We are amending the compensation plan, and it's essentially a title change. And again, this is just to allow for the action that we're going to be taking tonight in the discussion. So we are moving from the compensation plan with reference to public safety community police liaison. The grade is graded 824, 827. That is on page 11. We'll post the bottom. It's lined out on the document before you. And we are amending that essentially, all we're doing here is changing the title. The title is going to be Administrator of Community Relations and Diversion. The compensation grade is the same. I would like to ask for a motion, please, to make amendments to the compensation plan in front of us. Motion made by Councilman Castillo, seconded by. Second by, Councilman Taylor and Tucci, all in favor. Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion passes. And then the other item that we need to change or amend is the classification document, which is item 3 before you. And what we're doing here is, I would need to make a motion to redact on page 11. Nope, I missed that one. We're basically, what are we doing here? We're redacting public safety community police liaison on page 6 of your document, page 6. That's the old title under section 12 that becomes the Commissioner of Public Safety. We're removing that position. We are adding the new title, which is going to be presented to us by job description by the chief in just a moment. Administrative Community Relations and Diversion on your section 15 on page 8. I think that's it. And where is that? Okay, may I have that motion? Motion made by Vice Chair Castillo, seconded by Councilman Tucci, all in favor. Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carried. So we have our 3 documents before us today. Tonight. At this juncture, I'd like to entertain, actually, I'd like to invite the Chief Clements to join us. Madam or Mr. Clerk, would you please swear in?
You swear or affirm that further the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. And you please state your name and title for the record. Q.T. Clements Jr., Chief of Police. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I understand you have a job description for us. I believe that it has already been distributed. Does each member of my committee and council colleagues have a copy of the job description? Yes. Okay. Could I ask the chief if you could just basically explain the position, go through the job description, and explain the reporting structure, how this is going to work within the department. I'd like to ask my committee to hold your questions until we finish it, and then we'll open it up for discussion. So, Colonel comments, you have.
Thank you, Madam Chair, fellow council members.
Excuse me, I apologize. I need to add this. May I have a motion to add this as Exhibit A? Motion made by Councilman Castillo, second by Councilman Tucci, all in favor, aye. Opposed? I have it. Please continue.
So again, yes, the change needed to be made is, it's not a sworn position, the rank of major, it's a sworn title, that of a paramilitary or military organization. Once a civilian is chosen by a aptly named a civilian title. And the title is, as stated, Administrator of Community Relations and Diversion. So the premise of the position was to elevate our approach, the Providence Police community-oriented policing approach in the respective areas of the job description. And this is a model that's been looked at around the country with civilians in the form of Office of Civic Engagement to further individual city departments, mainly large or like-size initiatives surrounding community policing philosophy and practice. And the idea is to strengthen the already formed relationships and partnerships we have in the community, but to build on those. Those are the citizen-based, neighborhood-based organizations, city government agencies and the social services of so many that we work with, Family Services Rhode Island, Nonviolence Institute, Prop Center, and so on and so forth. And the goal is to empower grassroots organizations within the community to have a better voice at the citizen level, citizen leadership level, to work more closely with the police department. And that is what we heard. The community wants the values of community relations at the highest level, and that's why we were looking to have it on par with the major's position at the level and in sync with the command staff of the police department. And so we appreciate the name change, and we appreciate you taking the documents that we provided with the job descriptions. If you want to read each one, or
I'd like to go through it, it's important enough to everybody. Do you mind?
yeah, I mean, look, we do so much with our respective departments in the community, but this new administrator will work hand in hand with the command staff, the upper command staff, and report directly to my office. So that would be myself or the deputy chief, the commander, in all of the work that we do. So this is a high-level position. The administrator shall serve as a liaison with communities throughout the city and maintain and develop relationships with community-based organizations, leaders, and others. The administrator will work with sworn and civilian staff and should be responsible for developing programs and initiatives that enhance police community relationships and continue to build and maintain trust and confidence within the community. The administrator will work with citizen organizations, nonprofit organizations, neighborhood associations, social service agencies, and other government agencies with the goal of empowering grassroots citizen involvement and community-based problem solving. The administrator will work with community organizations that elevate community needs and develop and implement plans, policies, and programs to meet those needs in the community. As well, work with appropriate personnel and ensure the general order that we already had in place, 510-0.02, Community Relations Unit, that is complied with pursuant to our CALEA standard and RIPAC standard. Also, the administrator will work with and coordinate with department staff on the recruitment for the position of police officer as it pertains to the work with our training academy. The administrator shall be responsible for the development and implementation of diversion programs to reduce police calls for service to more suitable organizations for the delivery of specialized services, i.e. social workers, mental health clinicians, child care specialists. The administrator will also serve on and represent the department on select boards and commissions at the direction of the chief of police, and the administrator will submit an annual report to the chief of police as well.
Thank you. Thank you for going through that. I would just like to make note to the committee that the name of the position that was created is still in budget. This is an action to essentially create this civilian position, and that's clearly what we're here to accomplish today. So with that, I'd like to open the floor for questions for the chief. Anyone have any questions at this point regarding the job description? Councilmember Nancy, yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Karen, for this. This is very helpful. I just wanted to briefly touch on the compensation for this position. What will be the compensation for this?
So originally it was put in at the level and in sync with the command staff. And I'm not sure.
What is before you this evening is 824 to 827, which basically is the rec center director's rating. It is below, a little bit below, the command staff major salary. You just get numbers on that, surely be able to. Anyone? You know what, how do we have our board of
Just my question is that the range $99,517 to $125,900.
that's the, rapid administration position. The position we're creating, that's the grade, and it happens to be the same as the rest.
Okay, the level of command staff, I'm sorry, what is their role?
Yeah, go ahead, please. Any other questions?
I'm just asking because I just want to make sure that with the increased job responsibilities that person or candidate is going to be for the additional services. So I'm not sure how to compare the job description with the job description.
Well, quite honestly, with fitting this in the budget, I think everybody recognizes that when we started this budget season, we didn't have this before us. We're trying to accommodate what has happened. And again, we didn't believe that the mayor was going to fill a command staff position that was created in the budget process. It was civilian. So we're trying to find a new budget that can happen is the best accommodation that we have. If this works and it's great, we'll make more changes. And I guess that's part of what we do. That's part of what we do. If it works, the chief is, I fully expect the chief to say, this is great, he's doing a great job, she's doing a great job, we'd like to, maybe think about changing the funding of it. We've got a budget coming up very soon. So it's definitely a moving target.
You just follow the blending. So what you're saying is we can address depending on what happens. We all do this whole position and maybe assign it.
We can do, yes, that is within the purview of the city council, which is what we're doing this evening. Chief, I answered that question. Do you have any other thoughts on that?
To add to the councilman's question, we do anticipate this being an all-encompassing position, comprehensive in our approach in the community, so I'm not quite sure how it relates to his current assignment, but we expected that it would be in sync and on par with the command staff level. However, I don't dictate that.
Are you all set, Councilman? Okay. Councilman, Chief.
Madam Chair, you guys stated it this works. We're putting this in a new position. We have no idea that this is what we're going to obviously until we start going. What I would like to see is once this individual is hired in this position, what I would like to see done is 6 months from now, we come back before the committee and find out how this position is really helping out the issues we have in the city.
And with that, I would say in some of the models we've looked at and think tanks that we've spoke to about this position, that's exactly what they've done, is to develop a unit of non-sworn personnel led by that director to form a staff to coordinate with social service agencies, grassroots organizations. Because there's the gap. I listen to calls for service all the time in the police department. Police really shouldn't be responsible for that. There was one the other day where the woman who called wanted police on the scene because her landlord was threatening to shut off her electricity. Those type of calls, and there's countless others, would be perfect for this assignment, for us to take an official report. You could even report that online and then filter it through this role, where that individual in that unit could potentially reach out to respective organizations to assist in not having their electricity shut off, to work with the service providers to make sure that, they're made whole and we don't lose electricity, gas, housing opportunity. But on the police department side, we'd go and take a report, and if that were to be turned over to detectives, it's really not going any further because it's not truly a police matter. However, However, we'll take a report, and we work very closely with many of our social service agencies. But kind of in more a siloed or structured form, where we would turn that over to family service or to the prop center. This is where this assignment is perfect to address those type of needs.
Councilman, Chief Davis, please.
Just a question, maybe I missed that, and see it, but let's say if there's a shooting or a stabbing, I know you guys come back, will he be coming back, or don't know? Is it a 24-hour position? Like,
I would anticipate that he would on many of them. And look, we have a lot of postal service, they have volume of calls, but on the major ones, I would anticipate that the person who takes this position, Mike Stevens, yes, he'd be back on the basis. We've already seen, he's done in his role as recreation director, he's able to mediate and mitigate situations he's been in recently in Valley View. So yes, that would be important on the high profile calls for a person in this position to assist the police department in meeting these things out in the community.
Very good. Anyone else?
So I guess my question
Councilman Dunphy.
is, yeah, who's that?
You can bring anything back. You can bring anything back. As a matter of fact, we encourage discussion. Councilman.
Can I,
Absolutely.
I'm not a part of it, but if among the major positions, that is going to be, all is going to be open to hire personal analysis. The major.
So,
But we created this one, so because I recall in the last meeting that we had by Zoom, we said that we don't need another major.
in that, the funding for this position right here is being taken from the funding for that position, and the role we were looking to accomplish is being identified in this job description. So it would be duplicate as to what this assignment is.
So, talking about money-wise, we using major money.
The original dedicated funding for that position, for this now changing the title from sworn to civilian.
Thank you.
You all set? Thank you. Anyone else? Committee members, council members, any questions, thoughts? Okay. Okay, with that, may I, we've already passed, the amendment, you all set? We've already got these, we need a motion to approve. Yeah, I have a motion to approve items 1, 2, and 3. Motion made by Councilman Bishop, seconded by Dunphy, all in favor? Any opposed? I have it, motion carried. Thank you very much, Chief. You have, Council President is with us, and there's a thought you'd like to share?
We want to thank the committee, Chief, for being involved in this process. It was difficult, but I want to commend the council, my colleagues. You know, an issue came before us, we chose to coalesce together and to address it, and clearly, we rectify something that clearly needs to be changed, and also hopefully give our record file a sense that we do support the positive review. And also, we also listen to the community, listen to their concerns about creating the bridge between the community and the police department, try to get that. So I think the committee, the chairwoman, for working on this, great job, and it's a good thing for the city council, it's also good for the city. Thank you all.
And Chief, thank you. Thank you for all your input to help us get to this spot. Thank you, Council President, for those remarks. And as my colleague has expressed, we want to hear from you. We want to understand how this is working. Does it make sense? Do we need to change? So we're open, we're here to help. This is what we do. So please, whatever you need, we'd like to hear. As far as the major's position, that's something you want to Thank you, Sherry. Thank you. Okay, Madam or Mr. Clerk, could you kindly read item 4?
An ordinance establishing a tax stabilization agreement for Matilda Pines LLC located at 47 Matilda Street.
Okay, this item is only on the record to set a public hearing for us. So may I make a motion to set a public hearing at a date that makes sense? Motion made by Councilor Vice Chair Castillo, seconded by Councilman Tucci, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? So let's set that one up for public hearing. And then the next item on the docket, Madam or Mr. Clerk, could you kindly read item 5 into the record, please?
Discussion and update relative to the capital improvement plan. The following has been invited. Demo Roberts, Director, Public Property.
Mr. Roberts. Hello, please join us at the table, please. Mr. Roberts, and first for you.
Some of the authority that testimony you're about to give is the whole season that we're going to take out the yard. Please say your name and title for the record.
Steve Roberts, Director of Public Property.
Okay. One of those changes. Okay, Mr. Roberts, what we have before us is the capital improvement plan. The capital improvement plan on FY 2020 to 2024 is before us, and we actually hoped that you could brief us on where we're at, what projects are complete, what is left to do, what your challenges are, if there's any stumbling blocks, whatever. The floor is yours. Did we swear all set? Okay. Floor is yours, sir. Please walk us through what's going on with CIP.
Certainly. What I did was, in previous discussions, we were looking for full transparency to the capital improvement project. Honestly, I mean, it's very complex. There's a lot of moving parts to it. We want to know, bottom lines. We want to know just day-to-day progress of the projects. And so, we wanted to create a dashboard that we can share with everyone to see it in real time, which we did. So you have that link. I'm going to share that.
This is the online.
This is the online. So the goal is, we've had paper copies, we've had quad charts and other things in the past, but these projects are so in-depth that, I felt that quad charts was just limited. So what we did, what you're seeing on the screen now is a site that combines every department that has a capital improvement project into one. We can use this for each council member, we can use it for the administration, we can use it for constituents, however we may want to do it. So what you will be seeing is in real time what we're seeing. This has a lot of photos, has some updates, also there are links, so if you really want to dive into financials as we're doing it, we'll be there. So currently I just printed out a summary snapshot of the spreadsheet. But really, at anyone's leisure, they can go into the link and look at things. I think this is going to spark a really good discussion on what's going on. So if you can see it, you can touch it, you can feel it. Now you can ask each director, myself, even a project manager, hey, what's going on this line item? So that's the goal. So what we have here now is just the cover page. You can just kind of roll up. We have a welcome screen, and in anticipation of if this goes out to the public, other people may want to know how to use this site. We have instructions on the site on how to use it. We even put a video together to explain it in depth on how to use this site. So we don't really have to go into the video, but again, if we click it, it will just kind of go through the overview, what's what, and that's what we have. If you can keep scrolling, please. The first department that you will see is ACT. There's a summary of the funding, the amount that's funded, amount to be spent, and then the balance to be spent out of those years. So you can see a quick summary of kind of where we are. So let me just step back by saying also, I'm looking at the spreadsheet that you're looking at, the 2 years that's highlighted in blue. The first 2 years are the funded years, even though the CIP is approved past that. So I just wanted to not make it so, to have so much information. So I'm just looking at these 2 years that are currently funded to concentrate on this dashboard, and we can keep adding as we go.
So the question,
Sure.
what we have before us on the spreadsheet, is this updated? This is current?
This is updated, yes.
So if we want to look at projects on here, we want to look at it in depth, we can go and use this tool.
You can. And we're currently, let me just add also that, you know, when I took this position, again, we were trying to get more staff members to really help the position. We've currently hired a CIP fiscal agent that's now on board, and she's coming along. She's been here for about 2 weeks now, so we still have some work to be done. We're also looking to get 2 project managers to help on both CIP projects and then other projects that we have in the city. We have enough to do. So as we're going along, we're having more hands on this in our department to make this happen. Sure.
Excuse me, that's something that I do.
Okay. When you actually just said, well, the blue being done in prior years, maybe I'm just a little confused. I looked out the other kid behind the end. Okay. Is saying that 2022 has not yet begun. Am I reading that right?
Which one are we looking at? Sorry.
Getting upon Dan, 1.9.
What page are you on? Sir?
Second page.
Second page. Okay.
Explain that to me.
Sorry, what was the question again? I'm sorry.
Well, the question is, you guys, not completed, not yet done. Right?
I've got it into outer years, yes.
Okay. But that was completed in the year.
So if you see this here, unless there's additional ask for that, then that's what that looks like. There's going to be additional ask for that, from my understanding to that.
I will tie you up to later on this. Comments more on that.
Sure.
So what I'd like to accomplish, thank you, Councilman. What I'd like to accomplish tonight is just orient the council to what is before us in these reports.
Okay.
We introduced this new online tool for us. I think that's a very helpful thing. But more importantly, I'd like you to explain, and I'd like to start, right from the top, this first document, the dollars that are allocated in the different budgets, how much has been spent, what's outstanding, where you are in a big picture way. And then I'd like to walk through, just pick one, and I'll take 1.1, roads, citywide, infrastructure, repair, resurfacing. I would like you to walk through that as an example.
Okay.
To share with the committee so that they understand this document that's before them.
Sure.
So I think that if we accomplish that, and then maybe, obviously, council people will use this and contact you and work with you individually on projects that are important to them. But I think tonight I'd like to get a global presentation of where we're at on our CIP in general.
Okay, sure. Yeah, so
We
this
recognize that you're a new person to the city, probably not so new anymore. You've been doing a great job to join us and I appreciate the work that you're doing on the CIP, but we really want to drill down. Every time I talk to council people, I'm hearing projects not getting done. So we need to gin up our efforts, figure out what our stumbling blocks are, and move forward. The order just suggested that maybe we pick a project on the list to review in totality and look at it on the computer as well, or on the online. So please start and give us an overview of our spending for each fiscal year, if you may.
Yes, yeah, sure. So if we look on the first page, you can see the overview from Public Works, Public Property, Parks, Planning, and so on. So fiscal year, so we have the overview for fiscal year 20 and 21 highlighted in blue. That's what we had allocated. If you look just below that, we have, again, the amount funded, say Public Works, for example. We have amount funded, amount spent so far, and then balance to be spent, based on the highlighted, the two blue highlighted areas there. So we just took that down to bring it, took that from there and to bring it down, and then really just go through exactly what was spent in those years, and for each department, exactly how much is left to be spent.
So for the benefit of my committee, FY 20, FY 21, if those are the two blue highlighted items, it's broken down by department. If you look at the bottom section of this top page, the balance to be spent, those are the unspent dollars in each department to date, not considering FY 22. Is that correct?
And that's correct.
Okay. So these dollars are total up to $79 million.
Yes, that's correct. Yes.
That's a lot of money not spent. So now let's pick a project. This project that you'd like to go through? Anybody got a set project? No, I'm not picking one in my ward.
I have one that was over with.
Well, I'm interested in roads citywide, maintenance, repair, and resurfacing. So where are we with that? That's 1.1. Which one would you want to go through, Chief?
We'll go to the fire station upgrades for the rent.
Let's do the road resurfacing 1.1. And then we want to talk about other questions.
So roads 1.1, so it looks like $20 million fiscal year 2020. Total paid so far encumbered. You got it.
They don't have the blue,
You can see it on that link.
online.
Yeah, you should be able to drill down into. That's up. DPW. So we have about $20 million funded fiscal year 2020. About over $4 million has been spent, and there's about $15+ million that's left to be committed. Now, where we.
Okay, so let's just go from the chart to this. So, and before us on our presentation, if you look at 1.1 FY 2020, there's 20 million. And then you're going all the way over to the third column to the end. 4.1 is total encumbered, paid thus far.
Yes.
Which means there's 15.2 $8 million.
15.834.
So now let's see it on this one.
So it's right there.
I mean, the online piece.
So if you don't mind, I'll just stand here. So this is the summary of it.
Okay.
And then we have a status of each project, as you look at each contract. Now, every day we receive TOs and we have changes going, and then we'll update this as well too. So,
So take us to the status, if you would, on this project.
yeah, so, again, there might be slight changes. So there are some contracts, so, number 7, there was, design, and TMing. That has changed slightly as well too. So these are all, what we did was, we took the roles and combined them into one. Instead of making each role its own project, all of the funding is being drawn from that line. So underneath everything that you see, again, you can see the bullet points there of contracts, where it is, what's highlighted right now, paving contract number 10, 30% done, it may be slightly higher, and then it goes down into, again, into the rest.
When is this going to be done?
The entire construction? That is a very good question. I mean, we're working hard every day and trying to get it done, but that is a elusive question, really.
Why is it elusive? What are the challenges?
You know, I mean, just working with the PMs. So the PMs are really, they're hands-on every single day in getting this done. I think funding is there, lining up contractors. There's a slew of things. And what I don't want to do is misspeak on exactly what the reasons are. But it's a lot of reasons why it's not all completed.
All right, question, supplement, WGS.
We had one act last summer, and I found out just recently, kind of like now, and it was and we just recently, last 2 weeks, okay, to get some sidewalks done, with the contracts supplies. My question would be, if we had this money all this time, why is it just now, this money's, these projects are being okayed before contracts? I went to okay in the beginning as, say, a big, contract,
Mm-hmm.
and instead of what we're doing now.
Yeah, so I think, so this is not just the first time that, a paving contract or project is happening. It's been happening through summer. Exactly why this one went through the board right now, I couldn't really tell you that. I couldn't speak on it. So this is where we can, have the conversations with each project manager to see exactly what it is. Is it, procurement? Is it, getting contractors available? That I couldn't tell you for that particular, because I'll have to look at that though.
I appreciate that, but, this isn't the first time this is happening, funding, CDBG funding, which I find odd, because, again, if we know, and I'm just running with the numbers, we know we've got $30 million certain to be broken off, certain wards for sidewalks to be done, then why aren't we okaying what kind of supply that new $30 million up front? It's not like we don't know we had it. It seems like this happens every year.
Right. So is this particular project CDGB or is it CIP?
No, I'm talking about it's actually both CIP and CDGB.
Okay. I mean, that's a great question. I can certainly have a conversation.
These are things, I think this is what we're trying to get to. These are things that, being held up somewhere. I mean, being held up to play around with funding, not to put everything out there at one time. I mean, like I said, I just find it odd that every year we look for the same thing with these funds. And then we're looking at maybe next year now, some of our sidewalks being done that we were told right along this year.
Got it. Yeah, no, that's a legitimate question, and honestly, that's a good question, and honestly, that question I couldn't, answer. What we're doing here really is to be transparent, to ask those particular questions. Also, and I can't speak on the dynamic, the relationship of how, again, you have a lot of hands into this, how it all works. So if we look at $30 million being spent, what we're trying to do here now is drill down on exactly what's there, and we can see it and ask those questions to each department.
So if I may, Councilman, kind of answer your question. We're obviously very concerned about these projects getting done in time. We approve the money, and, you know, there's just too many things lagging. And if you can, we won't recall, but my colleagues will very much recall, we asked and pretty much demanded the project manager oversight all of the CIP to basically do these, to look at the efficiencies of bundling and combining all these projects and making sure the projects move forward. We asked for that. We thought it was a critical need, and our auditor is telling me it's 2.49 that was put in the CIP budget for that purpose. It's still in the budget. No, I'm sorry. It was section 2.49, 6 million, and we have 2.5. Is that in FY21, 2.5? FY20 is the $6 million. So we never hired a PM. We never hired a project manager. Is that correct?
No.
No issue for your time, but we never hired anybody, right?
So
bouncing along with these projects.
right. So I think so we've talked to every department about this, and the goal is to get someone in or team in to really help to push that along. So that line item is there for that.
So it's about 8.5 million. It's sitting in the CIP, and it's sitting with a bunch of other projects that haven't moved forward. And the whole reason this council was very steadfast in their desire to make sure we had a project manager moving these projects through and making sure that we could run as efficiently as possible. That's an issue, that's a problem. So I'm going to ask you to revisit that and look at it and work with the auditor. And we need to figure out how we can get these projects moving. I hear it over and over again, and I think the frustration that we heard from Councilman Nanducci is shared by all of my council colleagues. We've approved funds to fix our streets and our sidewalks, and they're not getting fixed. So help us. And I know you're a new person, and I have to say you're an absolute pleasure to work with. I'm not beating up on you. And you know, we had called you months ago, and I said give me some time. So that, you know, we can, you know, get his feelers, if you will, and get his arms around this project. And I appreciate the work that you've done with this online presentation you have, and we're actually two. If you have for us, that's great. Information is great. But right now, I am less impressed with fancy presentations. We want to see our street space and the sidewalk space and all of these critical projects that the council people have labored, you know, had meetings. I mean, just to get on this roster, just to get on this board, a lot of council energy and effort has gone into getting these projects on this list. We need to get these projects done. So I'm going to ask you to help us. As far as I can tell, this document hasn't changed in 2 years. And I know that maybe your priorities when you were hired was to get this online tool working and functioning, but I'd be more impressed if we had a project manager on board, that we were spending our dollars efficiently, looking for efficiencies in our operation, and essentially getting these dollars out. Councilman Artucci.
Yeah, the thing I always say is that you guys gotta understand, and I mean that to the record. When we have a constituent, and it's now been waiting 4 years, 5 years for a sidewalk. And I finally was able to get his property okay for the sidewalk. Okay? And now, I'm the one who calls, not you guys, I'm the one who calls. I know my sidewalk is getting done, it's not done yet. You know, and we were told again, so I gotta tell these certain individuals that you might not see it until next year. It's not fair to us, it's not fair to the people that we serve, that are taxpayers that have been waiting, and now they're gonna lose more.
Just to follow up with my colleague here, this is a 2-year-old document, as far as I'm concerned. We had 80 million, 79.3762, That's a lot to have outstanding. That in and of itself says to me, we need a project manager, as the council had originally fought for, day one. We've gone through a budget cycle, on this couple of budget cycles. These are important projects, so we're gonna ask you to go back to the drawing board and figure out how we can move forward on these projects. Construction everywhere is ongoing. As a matter of fact, the state has ramped up their construction, utilizing the time that people weren't on the streets because of COVID. And, you know, the city essentially wasn't doing anything. So we really have an issue. Councilman Fiscal, did you have a question?
No, I don't have a question, I have a concern.
Yes.
It's about like a couple of years to, I just think that Alma Community Center, we have paid a lot of money for something happening here, nothing happening here. Now that center is broken, used for prostitution inside. They arrest people in there, they, you know, the building, they secure the building, they go the next day and broken their all the doors, windows or whatever. And like my first sentence to say, we received a call from the sidewalk. You know, like, people is frustrated when they calling you and say, you know, I'm waiting for 10 years to be my sidewalk is done, but I need to pay my taxes every year because I don't pay, I'm behind and I need to pay the money. So, and I really don't know how I can answer that question because, oh, they're supposed to be, my sidewalk started like 2 or 3 months ago, and nothing happened in my neighborhood. And people are starting calling, and we don't know how they want to answer this question because it's nothing is happening here. So that food struggle we feel is really hard when we know they calling you like you are my consultation, you have to do stuff. Even if not, but we receive the pressure, you know, and so thank you.
So I just want to expand upon my colleague's comment. That is the work that I was sharing with you, the blood, sweat, and tears of council members, the multiple meetings, the discussions, the hard work that goes in to get a project on this list. So when it sits here, it's stale, and it just is sitting here, it causes great anxiety and frustration. So we gotta fix this, and we gotta move forward, and we gotta figure out a path forward. On the project that my council colleague has just talked about, I'd like you to look at that and get back to my council colleague on how we can move that particular project forward. And if you have any barriers, we'd like to know about them. Auditor, Madam Auditor, you have a question? Oh, I'm sorry.
No, people.
Thank you, Councilman Seeger. Very quickly, when you have the contract, if I'm from the public and I look it up, I don't know if my street's not at one. Is there any way you can get the contract attached to that? or any way that I can say, look up your street, even if it's being done, and have it done. Technically how it can be done, but I put in my street, I hope it's under the contract fee, and I know it's not gonna be done until September of 23. I go, okay, I won't bother my company. Is that possible?
Well, I have to look into that. I'm not sure on that particular exercise. I know if we scroll up more, there's a map that shows the areas and then it's highlighted, to the year. So if you go up a little bit, you will at least see that to give you documentation to see where the intended projects are supposed to be.
Yes, it says 2020. So it's already past that. So that's gonna cause problems, the conditions with the company. So if you update that and say, okay,
Sure.
20 is now 2, 3, so we know.
That's a great point. We can do that. Yeah. Thank you for pointing that out.
Thank you.
I guess my question is, I don't know if it was last year or the year before, 2.40, Camp Cronin facility upgrade. I know before there was $750,000, and I know I brought up in the meeting to take that out. We did take it out. Now it's 1.75. And I know in the meeting, one of the meetings that we had, I just copied basically what the water supply guy came the following year. He came and said that we need to get a list of what our assets are worth. I know I asked that during the finance committee, and we still haven't got that. That is obviously one of the biggest assets we have. But I don't know how, like you said, it is the same, everything's the same except this. Because we went from 750,000, where we went to 0, and now it's at 1.75. He's not gonna know that. I'm just throwing this out to the committee.
Very valid point. Thank you for reminding us of that. Mr. Roberts, could you kindly hold the Camp Cronin up and let us see what's online for that project? We have to establish online.
What page is on? You-
2.40, Camp Cronin.
Page 3.
Oh, that would be under 3/4 of the way down.
Oh, no,
I'm sorry, please, Mr. Roberts, continue.
So can you keep scrolling, it should just be there.
To be addressed. All right, we're gonna do some more research.
In 21, yeah.
We're gonna do some more research on that.
Okay. Sure.
Councilwoman, Archie, you have a question?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Hey, what are you doing? So my question is, because I'm just thinking about like this environment, because I've gone to the public position. One of the things I would like to know is, can you share with us just kind of the documents just outlining the overall scope of work and costs for each of the rec centers, so we know the total price, or the total cost to kind of bring it back to a state. And also, one question I had is just thinking about like this round, you have had the same issues for years to the point where the police issue was not addressed, and what ended up happening is that the water, as you saw, significant mold throughout one side of the building, which ended up being more costly for us. So is there a process that perhaps try to kind of address the matter, like from start to finish? So everything needs to be done in like distant parts, it takes years, and then the issue is being resolved.
Yeah, so that's a great question. I've actually shifted talking about that. So what we're doing is collecting all of these assets and evaluating every single one to know exactly what we are. Benson Brown, for example, is one that, you know, we would like to just get a status and get a full on what to do to bring it up to, you know, to the extent that we have it. I think that's a good way to ask for funding. If we can have something to say, we went through the building, we saw roof, we saw flooring and things like that, and this is what the cost looks like. That's a good way to evaluate. So currently, with the same Monday format, we're listing all of the assets, rec centers, and so on and so forth, letting you know exactly the condition of each, from, you know, plumbing, to electrical, to roof, and everything else. So then when we do ask, we can ask sensitively.
Yeah. And just thinking about even this, I mean, the owner of center or others, it's more cost effective to kind of rebuild rather than kind of fix the problem, because it's.
Very good comment, Councilman. Yeah, any questions?
My question is, how many people you know work in this place? Because I see that everything's behind. Nothing has been done, and winter is only one. So you have 39 million plus, and then how about can you go to these projects? But if you only have one company working for all of them, or you have several companies doing different things?
Yeah, what you see here is a combination of different departments. So you have DPW, you have roads, you have some buildings, so it's a slew of projects and also different companies working on it. So it's not just one. So DPW may have several paving companies to take care of that. You know, parks have projects going on as well, planning, public property, and so on. So it's a slew of projects that all combine to make that 79 plus.
And who's behind them, who's pushing them, who's watching them, like, hey, what's going on?
Yeah, so that's part of our job, that's the project management job, and we're also scaling up even more. We have room, or we have in the budget to get 2 extra project managers that's gonna help with it. We also are adding, or we just added a fiscal person as well too, to help all of this move forward. So, I mean, we have really staffed up, and we continue to staff to support, but, you know, to answer your question, that's what we have thus far.
So basically, we'll be done.
Oh, certainly, we can do more, and the goal is to do better, really. Again, I can't speak about how things happened before, but, I mean, certainly committed. As we bring these people along too, you know, you do have to bring up to speed, you know, let them know what's going on, so we're doing that as quickly as possible, but, you know, very committed, so. Yeah.
Councilman, you all set? Okay, so, Councilman Taylor has a question.
Just one quick final question. And I'm not gonna ignore you, but I'm gonna go back to the chair and the members, because I don't think you were here at the time. The last time that we had this, I could be wrong, we had a separate page with just the rec centers.
We did.
And she mentioned Elmwood Community Center, I don't see it on here, I don't see West End on here. And it was a separate page of CIP that was built up. And I'm not putting you on the spot, but are we missing a page?
So separately for rec centers, I mean, I can look to see if.
I see some of them in here, but when she mentioned Elmwood, because I remember it was a separate page and it broke down.
So, Councilman, I think what we had was a presentation of the work that needed to be done in each of the rec centers. This document is a summary of every project. It was a separate report. But nonetheless, I think it is important that we look at the rec centers in totality, so if you could help us with that. And it's hard for the council to digest. I get that we wanted this online, system, the administration is wanted the online system for transparency, and that's great. The council is more excited, more focused on getting these projects completed. So I'm less about, you know, the form and more about substance. So let's move these projects along. You've heard from us that, we're a little disappointed. And I think you, with your own testimony, made the argument that you also agree we need a project manager to oversight all of these projects, because the reason we agreed on that as a council and as a body was because we recognized that most of the departments that are impacted and have, you know, of these, of these projects. So that's where we see an outside oversight authority, not necessarily people in your department. Councilman Anthony, I'm sorry.
And just to follow up the record, you said you're gonna hire, or you are in the process of hiring one CIP fiscal agent and 2 project managers. Okay, when will they be on board?
So the fiscal agent is on board already. And I plan to post maybe within the next week or 2 for the project managers.
So the jobs haven't even been posted yet.
No, not yet.
When do you think they're going to be, filled and operational?
I'm looking for the post to be up in another week or 2, and then we're gonna go through. Let me just add that 2.49, the funding for 2.49 is not being ignored. The project managers are in-house. For 2.49, we are looking to get outside help for each department from that line item. So that is separate from just the in-house project. So we have line item 2.49 that is allocated for project management for the entire general CIP.
And none of it has been spent.
So I think the approach basically is that, and the approach is that we have different disciplines for different departments. So for example, the Department of Public Property would like to use some of that money that's allocated, so we can allocate it for project management for the Department of Public
That's
Property.
not what the council agreed to.
Okay.
Council has a budget for CIP to authorize an OPM, project manager, that's what we want to see. Nothing is moving, we need a project manager. So we're re-emphasizing on our request. I think we've heard enough tonight. I know council people have other obligations, so I think we're gonna move along. Councilman,
And, you know, that's a frustration with the administration, because they think they can take funding that's put aside for just use project A and say, well, that's do that, the money over here. When the council approves a budget, those funds have to be spent to where we allocate it. And I hope you understand that, because you can't take that money that we allocate for project management and decide to hire 3 or 4 other people to do other jobs. I hope the administration is not directing you to that.
No, that's not the intent. If that's how you understood it, then that's, that is incorrect. That is not the intent for that line, at all. The intent for that line is to have project management. May I just add, again, we're going for, a OPM. And I'm just gonna put this out there that certain, project management, so you may have parks, and then you also have roads. If we get an OPM, they will then have to hire someone under them for each of those disciplines, vertical, construction, parks, and things like that. So, the intent is to use that line item for project management.
And as I said earlier, I appreciate what you do.
Thank you.
I totally agree.
Thank you.
Okay, folks, I think we've expressed, we've spoken this evening, any other council members, any other comments? I'm going to ask that you follow up with our order.
Sure.
I'd like to see some movement on this approved CIP and moving in the direction that was intended by the council. We've got to get these projects going. I don't know what the delay is, but we can't wait any longer. Okay, so whatever you need, come back to us, we'll call you back, and get another update. I item C, but that's what we're asking. With that, I don't see any other, items on our agenda this evening. Now I have a motion to adjourn. Motion to adjourn by Councilman Naducci, seconded by, Leader Taylor, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.